Hey everybody. So, some of you are probably already aware of this if you watch my videos or follow me on Facebook or Twitter. But I am not just a person whose only use of their film degree is yelling at stupid movies on the internet. I am also a published author. My first book, The Great Platypus Caper, came out a couple of years ago, and just recently, my publisher has released my second book, The Coconut Monkey Horror. You have to enunciate carefully on that one. The first time I told my mother that I wrote The Coconut Monkey Horror, she wondered why it was about streetwalkers. It's not a funny joke, it's just true. So, in case you don't know, both of the books are full of funny short stories about my life. The first one, The Great Platypus Caper, tends to focus more on the college years and then those years after college where you realize all of a sudden that life doesn't come with a roadmap anymore and you have to figure out what you're going to do on your own. It's a very confusing time for a lot of us. And so that book, while I promise you the humor content is high, the book is also about searching that out and trying to find out who you are and what you're going to do. There's a lot of fun stories in there. Me having to jump out the second story window of a girl's dorm. My mother stealing my socks for no reason. My college roommate chasing small children with an axe while dressed in heart boxers. Things like this. My second book is a little bit broader themed, but it does tend to focus a little bit on living on my own for the first time, moving away from family and friends and into a new city, not having a roommate, and having to learn how to do everything by myself, finally, because I'm an idiot male who's used to being pampered by his parents, and I'm finally having to learn how to do all these things for myself. It's also very funny. I would show it to you because it's a book talk, but it's actually so hot off the presses that I don't even have a copy yet. My publisher is sending them to me in mail. But you can pick up a copy of The Great Platypus Caper or The Coconut Monkey Horror at any online bookstore. You go to the online bookstore of your choice, wherever you buy stuff online, and you can get a physical copy or you can get a digital copy. The digital copies are cheaper. The physical copies make me feel better about myself. Go get yourself a copy. I promise you'll probably laugh. I semi-guarantee it. And since I've still got some time, because it's a vlog and I can talk however long I want, I wanted to try and encourage, perhaps, with my own story. So, middle school, high school, I was writing constantly. Whenever I was in class, I was always writing some story or another. They weren't terribly good, because I was a kid, and I never finished any of them. But I always knew I wanted to be a writer. And that was my rallying cry for a good portion of my life. I'm a writer. To which people would snidely retort, so what have you written? And I gotta go, well, I've started a lot of stuff and I have a lot of really good ideas, but I haven't written anything. Hurts. So, in a particularly down part of my life, post-college, I had moved back in with my parents, as a lot of college graduates do, and that was a blow to the self-esteem. I was working at a job that had nothing to do with my film degree that I had gotten. And that's right, I got a film degree, and I used it to scream at bad movies on the internet. Higher education for the win. But, so I was working at a job that not only did not take advantage of my film degree, but also didn't even take advantage of my desire to write. And it was a dead-end job. Just no hope of advancement, and I was depressed. And my parents sat me down, and God bless my parents, because I don't know how many other parents would have done this, but they told me I needed to write, and I needed to write anything, because they could tell I was depressed, and they knew I needed to do something creative to get out of it. I don't have anything good to write about. I don't know. I got nothing. What am I supposed to write about? And my mother said, why don't you write those stories you're always telling your friends, like the sock story? Anybody who's read The Great Platypus Caper will notice the first story is the sock story. It is a a story that was very popular among my friends because it's a good story. And those of you who have read it, or when you do read it, I want you to remember, my mother does not come out in a positive light as a result of that story. Really does not. My mother looks crazy as a result of that story, and she knows it. So it was kind of her throwing herself on the fire for her son. Like, look, it's a good story, even though it makes me look bad. Write it. And it turns out, writing a series of short stories was the solution to the problem I'd always have of getting halfway through a story and then getting distracted by something shiny or whatever. Because each story was self-contained, right? I could just write 5 stories in a night, and then a couple weeks later write 5 different stories, and before you know it, you've got enough to actually be a full-fledged book. I'm not going to go into the very long process of finding an agent or a publisher. I can talk about that another time. I also wrote about it in the Coconut Monkey Horror. But the first most important thing, and you know what, this isn't just for aspiring writers out there. Really, you can expand this to apply to your situation. But the important part of if you want to be a writer, if you want to be an author, is you got to write. You actually have to finish a project. Finding somebody to publish it or publishing it yourself, that's a whole other step. And it's a step it's not even worth thinking about. Because first you got to write it. If you have a dream, it's not going to come to you. You have to go after it. You have to do the thing you want to do. Sounds simple, but when you're in a dark place in your life, when you're depressed or whatever, it can be easy to forget. Don't dream it, be it, for you Rocky fans. And there's plenty of Rocky stories in The Great Platypus Caper. So there you go. I've got a second book out, which is very exciting. I am working on a third book, and that's going to be part of a whole different vlog that I'm going to do. So, that's it. I've taken up enough time talking about myself. Hopefully, maybe inspiring one or two of you. It'd be nice. It'd be great if I could do for somebody else like my parents did for me. Just write something. Just do something. Worry about the second step second. First, write it. So that's it. Hopefully you guys will all go out and, purchase The Great Platypus Caper and the Coconut Monkey Horror. It'd be great. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know. I'm always happy to talk with my fans if I ever have any. I'll see you guys next time.